Hello, everyone. Hi. Let's see. Let's get my devices here ready. How is everyone? Thank you for joining us. We are going to have some fun playing with UV resin again today. So here it is. Here's our little miracle bottle. UV resin, if you've never used it, this class is going to take you from a beginner to, I don't want to say an expert, but we're going to get you all the stuff you need to know to create lots and lots of projects. So we're going to be working with bezels today. We're going to be working with silicone molds today, and we're going to teach you what you need to know to get started. So before we begin, just some safety precautions. You want to make sure you're working in a well-ventilated area. You will also want to make sure you're not working next to a window where UV light is coming in, because those UV rays from the sun will start curing your product before you want it to. So be careful with that. Wear gloves if you have sensitive skin, if you have an allergy to resin of any kind. You want to wear gloves during this process too. All right, well, let's jump in. So we're going to switch the camera view to here. And these are some of the projects that we're going to be making today. So this is actually what we're going to make. And this is obviously wintry, Christmas themed. You can see it's a shaker. Those things move around in there. And because this class is obviously happening the last week of October, we wanted to show you some options where you can use these same materials and molds, but in a Halloween theme. So this one is going to use the same techniques that I'm going to show you. Those eyeballs move around in there, but just the styling is different. The colors are different. The inclusions that we put inside the shaker are a little bit different in more of a Halloween theme. In the same way, this necklace, we're going to make this necklace. This uses a bezel. See this metal frame? That's called a bezel. And I'm going to show you how to use this as well. And this one is obviously winter themed, but we did kind of Halloween-like, kind of a night sky. Get a little closer here. You can see those clouds. So we're going to show you how to make both styling options. All right, so let me just clear the area here. I'm going to show you some of these up close toward the end of the class. Let me clear this, and we are going to start with our teardrop pendants. Let me bring this down close. All right, so this piece, it starts with this. This is what the jewelry bezel looks like when you buy it. So it's an open frame bezel. There are a lot of types of bezels out there. Some bezels have a back to them. Do we have a bezel with a back? We might have one out. If we have one, I'll show you. But this is like called an open bezel. And open bezels are really cool to use with UV resin because UV resin is a clear thing. You can see my finger behind this. It's a clear thing. So this allows you to create sort of transparent or see-through jewelry. Here's an example of a closed back bezel. It's just like a tray, you know. You can absolutely use this with UV resin as well, but you just won't get that transparent see-through effect that is so cool with UV resin. Okay, so here's a bezel. Bezels are available in a lot of different shapes. I can show you some of the bezel, different shapes that we have, but this is one of the more kind of traditional ones. It's just a teardrop. Anytime you're working with bezels, you need to use this product, which is a tape. This is a special polyester tape. See, here it is. And it's a low tack polyester tape. You may say to yourself, gee, I can just use mailing packing tape. Do not use packing tape for this. You will have a really hard time working with it, especially trying to remove it. I'm just cutting a piece here, trying to remove it from the charm once it's cured. So here I cut a little piece of tape. It's kind of hard to see because this is blue and this is blue. But I'm going to put that tape sticky side up. See it sticking to my thumb. And then I'm going to stick my open bezel on top of it. I hope that you guys are crafting along with me today. Give me a shout out if you are. Hi, Iowa. Let me also break down the kind of workspace that I have. So this blue thing that I'm working on is an extra large silicone mat. So when I pull back, you can see this is a mat. It comes in a couple different sizes. This is the smaller size. This is about 5 inches long. And then this is the size that I'm using here. It's super long. I can't get it all into the frame, but this is, you want to protect your work surface. Resin, once it's cured, it doesn't stick to silicone. So that's why so many of the materials we're using today are silicone. All of these products are available at Michael's stores and at michaels.com for you to purchase. Okay, so here is our bezel. We stuck it down on some tape. And now we're going to go in straight with the bottle of resin. So UV resin is, think of it like a liquid plastic, and it only cures in UV light. It will not cure in fluorescent light or any other kind of light. And the steps that I'm doing right now on this bezel are how you would need to prepare any bezel that you work with, whether it's a shaped bezel, a circle bezel. You want to use the tape, and then you can see I put a little bit of resin in there, and I'm just using a wood stick to move it to the edges. Anytime you're also working with UV resin, remember that layering is your friend. So here, this is going to be my first layer, just a clear layer, and I've moved it to the edges of the bezel. And then I have a paper towel off to the side, and I just kind of keep that to wipe off my stick here. All right, so then I bring in my next tool, which is our UV lamp. So let me turn it upside down. I'm going to hit the button and turn it on. See, that's what it looks like. This is a 9-watt LED UV light, and it plugs into a USB. So you can plug it into your laptop or however you charge your phone. You can plug it in that way. And so this little guy, he is what cures our resin. And so this light has been on this piece of resin. Let me move this finished necklace out of the way. Has been on there for maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds. And you can see that that is already hardened. And that is how fast this product works. If you're like me, if you're impatient and you do not want to wait multiple days to have your resin cure, it cures in just minutes. So you can see like that first layer that we did is already cured. Full cure times are going to be 2 to 4 minutes. It just depends on what you're putting in the resin. If you're putting a ton of color, if you're putting a lot of glitter in there, you'll need to cure it a little bit longer. But there's our first layer already. Okay, so now maybe I should keep this in so you guys can see what we're making. So now we are going to start putting some fun stuff in there. I need to mix up some blue resin. So I have a silicone cup here, also available at Michael's. And into that silicone cup, I'm going to put some resin. And I'm just kind of eyeballing how much I need. And then the next thing I'm going to use is, this one's kind of ugly. These are well used. Do you have a nice one for me to show? Let's see. I'm going to show you this product, which this is our working product, so it's not very pretty. We're going to get a pretty one for you. These are tints. These are pigment tints. This is what it looks like here. And this is a super, super concentrated, here's what it is in stores, super concentrated pigment dye for your resin. So here's one of the items that comes in primary colors. And it's super concentrated. So into this, I need to put, like maybe a half a drop, the smallest little amount that I can get in there. And you'll see when we stir it up how concentrated that is. But I'm also going to add, because I love sparkle. Who does not love sparkle? I'm going to add some glitter. This is just extra fine glitter. All of these products that we're using to put into the resin, by the way, are available here. This is what it looks like in stores. But this gives you a bunch of these little plastic containers, which are so handy for storage. We're going to be using a lot of these in these projects today, but this is our Galaxy little filler mix here. Okay, let me bring you back down. All right, and as I'm making this, or as you're watching, please feel free to comment in the chat function. I will try to answer them as I can, but please ask any questions. I'm just putting some glitter in here, and you can put as much glitter as you want. If you put a little bit, it'll just be, you know, just kind of more sparse. Let's mix this up. It's really up to you what your final design is. All right, so you can see kind of what we have here on the stick. I could add more glitter if I wanted it to be more, the glitter piece is a little closer together. Okay. Where is my paper towel? Okay, so we're just going to go in with this blue glitter. And these silicone bowls are really flexible, so you can see how I'm squeezing it. And I'm just putting it kind of up at the top. And see how it just flows naturally. Also, you know, I'm not really worried about bubbles here. It's just going to flow and into more of a dome. All right, so there's our blue. I'm also going to mix up some of this clear AB-ish. So let me mix up another cup here. And here I'm using these. Actually, inside here are little stars and moons and rounds and little fun stuff. This is going to be our snow. And I want to put quite a bunch of those in there. All right, mixing that up. And let's just start dolloping that on. And then going in and just kind of making it perfect. If you get a little too much resin, you can see I came over the side here. Go, let me get this down close. I came a little bit over the side here. You can just use your wood stick, clean that up. You could go in with a Q-tip, clean it up. The time to clean that up is before you cure. Once you cure, that is locked down into place. Saw a question in the chat from Susie. Susie, thank you for your question. She asked if I put any white tint in this. I didn't, but you absolutely could. If you wanted that more like real snowy look, you could absolutely put white tint. But I'm going with this little more, I don't know, kind of translucent. All right, so that's looking good. I'm actually going to cure it a little bit here because it's really liquidy right now, and I don't want this stuff to move around. So before we add the rest of this embellishment, I'm going to cure it. All right, while that's curing, do we have any questions in the chat?
Did you put any white tint in it?
That one, no, we did not put white tint, but you could, that's optional. Maybe I can talk about cure time. So with this lamp, every push of this button is 1 minute. So it's on an automatic timer. After 1 minute, it'll turn off. And so for this sort of pre-curing step, I'm just going to cure it for 1 minute. Another question in the chat, is the bezel full? My bezel, it is pretty full. I did sort of put a lot in there, but I'm not necessarily worried about that. There is room to sort of dome clear resin on the top of it. So I'll be able to add the surface detail that way. All right, so that's been in for 1 minute. Where'd my stick go here? Let's give it a tap. That is hardened on top there. All right, so now we want to add some snowflakes and some pearls. So let me show you. These pearls are right here. They are really tiny and they don't have a hole, so they're not technically beads. But I have those right here. I'm just going to put a few out here. And then the little snowflakes also right here. Now these snowflakes, let me show you how those come in the stores. Those come in a wheel that comes with 12 different shapes. Snowflakes is just one of them. If I turn it over and look on the back, these are the shapes that it comes with. So it's a little bit of everything that you might need, but we are using the snowflake. Let me put a couple of those out. All right, so let me show you how to add this stuff to our bezel. So first, I'm going to go in with a little bit of clear resin here and using my stick to spread that out. I'm sort of just bringing it to the edges. We want to make this a wet surface because that will help stick down what we're grabbing. So the easiest way to grab these tiny pearls and these snowflakes is with a wet stick that has a little bit of resin. So first I'm going to start with the snowflakes. And I can just pick them up pretty easily and lay them down. There you go. And then the pearls in the same way. And you can really go crazy in this step. You can add so many different materials. I'm going to show you while this cures, I'm going to show you the different materials we've used with bezels. Okay, so now I've put all those elements in place. I could add another layer here of the flakes if I feel it's not, I don't know, white or flaky enough, but I'm kind of liking the way that that looks. So now I want to lock it in place. So this is all liquid right now. I don't want to add any more resin to it until I lock that in place. If I poured resin to make a dome on top of this right now, it would just move everything that I've so carefully moved into place. So I don't want that to happen. So let's cure it. All right, so while that's going, let me show you a couple of, so here's our Halloween version of this. Make sure that you can see it. Okay, so this is, you can see it's kind of more transparent and then it moves up to black. These clouds, can anyone guess what we made those clouds with? That's with little cotton balls, little cotton pieces. And then we just cut a little moon out of, actually this moon's made of leather. But you can also put photographs. Here's a photograph we just printed on regular copy paper, cut it to size, and then I'll show you the back. The back is just the back. And put that down inside there. Here we took some stickers. These are stickers from the Michaels paper crafting aisle. And we just sandwiched a monogram sticker in between the resin. How awesome would this be to make this for all of your friends for Christmas? What else? Oh, dried flowers. We can't forget about dried flowers. They are so beautiful inside the resin. This is a very simple dried flower design, but it's so effective. And we sell a complete selection of dried flowers where you'll find the UV resin in Michael's stores. And I can show you what one of those flowers looks like, but I'm going to show you a couple other projects using flowers. So here we use, here's an example of one of the flowers. This is like a dyed baby's breath. So here we use, oh yeah, let me show this one. This is like a collection of flowers, comes all in one SKU. You can see you get some greenery and you get several different types of flowers that are all in the same color. Thank you. I have my wonderful assistant Rosa off to the side handing me things. Thank you, Rosa. So this one is also a dried flower, but you can see instead of doing a clear back, we just added some glitter to the back of this. Some other bezel projects. Here we used our butterfly bezel. This is also dried flowers. And it doesn't seem like you can see it that well. Maybe if I put it in front of this white, you can see it better. But we strategically placed these dried flowers to mimic the patterns of a butterfly. Here are other dried flowers. This is more of a corally sea look. Now this, I'm going to turn it to the side. This is using our extra deep bezel. This is a newer product that is in Michael's. And so this is for when you have things that have dimension and you need just more space. So in here we use this branch and some sand. Thank you. I'll take this one. Here's like the extra deep bezel in the stores. This up. Yeah, so that gives you lots of room to make layers and play with. And then the final bezel project that I want to show you, this created a whole sea scene. Now we did this in a class several months ago, and this uses blue and white tint, a real shell, and real sand. But it is so fun to play with these bezels. Okay, so here back to our wintry project. So here I have my elements already in there. Now they are dimensional. They're still sticking up. I can dome more resin on top of this, just straight out of the bottle. Just start pouring that on. And it kind of is naturally going to find its own balance here. I'm just working it to the sides. Also, what a dome can do on top is it kind of magnifies the products that are under it, depending on the angle that you look at it. Now you can take your dome all the way over the edge of the metal, or you can keep it just on the center. It's really up to you. Just be consistent around the whole thing. So because this resin is self-leveling, like for example, if I took my stick and made a line down through the center, it levels itself. All right, I like it. Let's cure it in place. So that last step I did was completely optional. I just wanted to show you how you can dome on top of 3D elements. All right, and we're going to let that cure for a couple minutes and then we remove the tape. All right, so while that's curing, let's talk about our next project. Let me bring this up a little bit here. This is our next project. This is a shaker. See how that stuff shakes around inside? This is referred to as a dry shaker because there's no liquid inside. Let me show you the back. The back is completely flat. So this in stores comes from a silicone mold. So this is what the product looks like in stores. When you shop our molds, what you'll find is up in the top corner, there's always going to be an example of what that mold makes. And then on the back will be a little diagram of the shape it makes and if it contains any extra items. So this mold in particular, it contains the silicone mold, but it also contains a die cut acetate sheet that you need to make the snow globes. Okay. All right, so that's gone for a minute. Let me hit that again and run that. So I'm going to open this up. This is just how you would find it in stores. So here's the mold. Notice how clear this is. There are a ton of silicone molds out there on the market that are opaque. You've seen like candy molds, those are opaque. You do not want to use an opaque mold with UV resin because it cures in light. You need the light to be able to reach all parts of it. So this is what our mold looks like. Also in the package are those die cut acetate sheets. So let me open this up. So one thing that you want to know is on top of the acetate, there is this layer here that is just there for protection so that these don't get scratched in stores. So you want to remove this, which I'm going to do now. And then I'm going to set this clear thing down on my desk and lose where it is. No, let me put it right here. I will remember that it's there. Okay, so back to this. So here's what we have. It is cured. That is cured on there now. And now is the very satisfying part of removing the tape. The caution that I will give you though is this is warm to the touch right now. Oh, and by the way, this tape, you can reuse it. Okay, so when you remove it, when you cure it, it's going to heat up a little bit. So this is a little bit warm. Just wanted to caution you of that so you don't go burning yourself. It doesn't get that hot. But here's the thing. Then you can take some pre-made necklaces from Michael's and just string it right on there. That hole will accept like these bead necklaces. You can just string it right on. And there you have a custom necklace in just a few minutes. Cool. I don't think I'm going to string it on there. You guys know how to string on a necklace because I want to make sure we have lots of time for our shaker. All right, we're going to move on to the next project, which is that shaker. Here's our mold. And so the awesome thing about this class is you're learning how to do the two most important skills in resin crafting. That is how to use a bezel. So we know how to use that now and how to use a mold. So here's our mold. We are going to mix up a bunch of resin to fill it with. All right, yet another silicone cup. And pour a bunch in here. And some glitter. I want that glitter to be pretty opaque, so I added a bunch of it. Maybe a little more resin. This is a big space to fill. Okay, let's mix it up. So this glitter, as I said earlier, does come in our filler pack. It is a fine, ultra fine glitter. But all different kinds of glitter will work. Different sizes of glitter, confetti will work, glass glitter, metal glitter. All of these different types of inclusions work wonderfully. All right, I might actually add a little more glitter because it's not looking very opaque yet. Okay, stir that up. Okay, thanks, Jen, for answering. We're going to show you what to do with the shaker. It's an awesome item just by itself to play with, but we're going to show you how to turn it into a brooch, how to turn it into a lanyard, into a badge reel, into a necklace. There's a lot of fun things that you can do with it. All right, so when you're using any type of mold that is sort of wide and flat like this, as I said in the beginning, curing in layers is your friend. So my first layer, I'm going to focus around the outside edges. And now with my stick, I just want to go in and encourage that resin to flow down into this little like trough here. So you can see that bubbles they're not really that big of a deal, but you can get some air trapped in these little pockets. See how I'm like moving this and squeezing it? I'm just making sure there's not like a giant air bubble where the resin didn't flow to yet. Okay. All right, we don't have to worry about it being perfect because we're going to add a lot more layers to this. So I'm going to move my bowl of resin off to the side and then bring my lamp in. We're going to pre-cure just that part of it. And the reason I moved my bowl is because if it was anywhere near this lamp, within 5 seconds, it would start hardening up, and we don't want that. Okay, so in addition to showing you how you can use these shakers, we're going to show you how you can style them either for Christmas as a snow globe or for Halloween as a crystal ball. So here's our kind of spooky crystal ball styling. This is a dry shaker. Those things, you can see like that plastic part is on the front and that moves around inside. Here's another Halloween one that we made. And this one, we didn't stick down the acetate sheet yet, so you can see, oh, that is perfectly clear, but that is the thing that goes on top. And so inside this guy, we have some spooky spiders, but we also have this little ghosty. We made this ghost out of resin, just free form resin. We did a great class on that a couple weeks ago. All right, so as I make the winter one, I just wanted you to see the cool Halloween options. All right, so that's gone for 1 minute. That is hardened. And now we're just gonna fill up the rest of it. All right, and then I'm just gonna encourage the resin to make sure that it goes in all the places that it needs to go. Oh, I missed Rebecca's idea. Somebody said, great idea, Rebecca. Thank you for commenting. Okay, so I think I need to put a little more resin. All right. And I do want to fill it all the way to the top. So when I feel like that is filled to the top, then I'm just going to cure it again. Sometimes I have to like get down and see, get down on a level and see if it's filled. Okay. All right, so I'm going to start to cure this. I don't want to touch this. I'm going to bring the lamp to the piece. And also, we always get a question how to clean these silicone bowls. This is how you clean it. Just cure it. I'm going to put that under there so it can be neighbors. All right, so as we're doing that, I'm going to keep doing some show and tell of the shakers. So I showed you the 2 Halloween ones that we made. Here's a Christmas one that's sort of on the plain side. We went with dark glitter there. And then we started getting fancy. Here, I love this one. Look how cute this is. So this has like a little candy cane, little polymer clay slices. And this one, I'm going to turn it on to the back. We turned it into a brooch. I'm going to show you how to do that. This is just added with more UV resin. You don't need to buy a special adhesive. UV resin works as an amazing adhesive. And in this case, it's adhering resin to metal. How cute that is. Then we started, oh no, what happened here? Okay, I overfilled my resin mold. Do you see this? Let me try to clean that up. I kind of like it when I make mistakes because then I can show you guys how to fix mistakes. All right, let me just clean that up. Now what that means is I might have an edge down here that's a little rough, but I'll show you how to clean it up. Let's keep curing that. Because this mold is so large and I put so much glitter in there, I want to cure that at least, I would say 3 to 4 minutes. So we can do show and tell in the meantime. So here is another shaker that we made, but this is a wet shaker. So this is filled, you can see that stuff moves very slowly. This is filled with baby oil, and that causes the real snow globe kind of a look there. I'm going to tell you how to do that. Also, what we did is we add some extra embellishments. So here it is plain. You have this full like flat area that you can do so much cool stuff with. And so we just used that area. We added some chain and we stuck that down with, I'll give you 2 guesses, UV resin. Just stuck that down and then stuck down some little pearl rhinestones. Okay, those are the ones that I have to show you. So here's the pin. Do I have a brooch pin? We're gonna get one. Okay, here we go. So this pin that's on the back, this is what they look like in stores. You run that again. So while that's running, I want to show you another shaker. This is another class we did to create shaker keychains. This was for back to school. So this is more like styled for teachers, but this is also a wet shaker. You can see the baby oil kind of moving around in there. And then we stuck the teacher's initials, their 3-letter monogram, onto the front. How cute is that? All right, so the reason I say that the easiest way to clean this is to cure it is once it's cured, you can just pop this out. You don't have to worry about a goopy mess. And this goes in the trash, or save your scraps, cut them up, and then put this inside of another resin piece. It makes beautiful glitter confetti. But then we have a clean, mostly clean. I have a little area there. That'll just pop right out. Any glitter that's left, what you can do is take some tape like you're getting lint off of clothes. See, because glitter tends to stick to everything. And then you can take some tape and just kind of get that extra glitter off. But that is the easiest way to clean. All right, so this has been under there a few minutes. The other thing I can do is I can flip it over and cure the other side. This just makes sure, because again, I have so much glitter in there, it's blocking the light. So flipping it over, just make sure that that other side is getting some love. So I'm going to show you that thing. I'm going to take some Scotch tape, put it on my finger. Here's my blue glitter, and it just takes it off. So that's the easiest way to clean. I mean, if this gets really dirty, soap, mild soap and water will work as well. Okay, so this has been in there for several minutes. It is warm to the touch. So you want to let that cool. I'm going to let that cool off to the side. And through the magic of television or Zoom, whatever we're on, I have one that's already in the mold. And this is ready to demold. So you can see how easily this pops out of the mold. And then you're left with this inner cavity. You can fill to your heart's delight with whatever you want. But that's what it is. And we have some other ones that we made over here. For as many glitter colors there's as many variations of this. You can make it completely clear too if you want that true snow globe effect. One other thing before we demold this one is we did a class a year ago. So last Christmas, we made this 3D snow globe with UV resin. So Jen can link that in the chat. So you have a link to this class, but this was made with a glass globe and our ring mold. That's how we made that, and a little pearl snowman in there. Okay. So here, here's our piece. I definitely want this to cool. If you start taking out the mold before it cools, you could twist it or bend it a little bit. A question from Karen, can you buy in bulk the clear pieces that go on top? Currently, you cannot. You get, I think 10. I think you get 10 in the package. Let me just, yes, you get 10 in this package. You cannot, but here's what you can do. So all of our items come in this blister packaging. This is acetate. This is the same material as this. So if you have one, save your packaging, that your molds, that your resin, that all of this comes in, and just lay this on top and you can cut out some more. You can also buy bulk sheets of acetate at Michael's. But it's a great way to reuse your packaging. All right, so this is still warm. I'm gonna let that cool. Let me start to show you the next steps for this. So the next step is actually the most fun one, and that is putting all the stuff inside. So we're gonna put some gems. These are little acrylic gems. And we're gonna put some of these flakies. And you know, you can fill this up a lot. What I found looks best is to have varying sizes of things in there. So you want some really tiny things like these little pearls, and larger things like these are some larger pearls. And then we're also going to put some snowflakes in there. Beautiful. Okay, let me just clean up my mess. All right, so now we're ready to seal this. So that's when I knew that I was going to lose it. No, here it is. Here it is. Here is the little piece that goes on the top. So let me just put that there. So you adhere that with more UV resin. Now, here's the part you want to be very careful. I'm going to put a little dot here next to. Actually, you know what? I used the wrong kind of resin. I used soft resin for that. Let me put another dot here. And you want to really use the resin to put a thin bead on this edge. You don't really want it to go over the edge too much, because then it'll drip down inside. And, you know, if any of your sprinkly pieces are there, it might kind of lock them into place. So I want to just be very careful, still making sure that I'm covering that top edge, but just doing no more than covering it. I don't want like a big bead or big glob of resin on there. And then on this flat area, you can, I mean, I can actually go in with the bottle. Put some down. and move it around. Oh, I got a little star stuck here. Get that away. Okay. All right, now then you take your little piece of die cut acetate and lay it carefully on top. Press it down and it will seal. And then I'm going with my fingers and just really making sure that this is lined up. I think pressing in the middle is the best way. Keeping it lined up, pressing in the middle. When I think that I have that perfectly lined up, I'm going to leave my finger on it, bring the lamp, and lock it down. Michelle, you're cracking me up. I'm sweating over here. I need like a boxing crew to like give me water. Wipe me down. All right, and it doesn't take long. Like this is already grabbed. It's such a thin layer of resin and it's only having to penetrate through a clear thing, just this clear, tiny little acetate. So it doesn't take long. I can feel that that's already locked down on there. And there's our shaker. That's our dry shaker. All right, so before I show you about the wet shaker, let's go back to this guy. Remember him? I overfilled him a little bit. Well, let's see what happens when you overfill. See what happens is I have that little flash. So if that happens to you, do not despair. It is very easy to fix. So I can kind of, that one's a little bit too thick, but you can go in with like a wire clipper and just snip that, let it fly across the room. That's the fun part. Kind of snip that off. And duck Rosa. Yes. And then if it's still a little rough, you can go in with an emery board. You always want to make sure that you are using a wet emery board. So I would dip this in water first, and then you can just kind of knock off any rough edges like that. Okay. And then you have a piece that's ready to decorate. Okay. All right, so here it is. So this is now just a shaker. Now I'm going to show you how to transform it into a pin. You get my pin backs. I love this as a pin because it has such natural movement. It's going to move. It's going to make some jangling noise. And that is fun. All right, so to add this to the back, simply just add a little bead of resin and lay this down. And lock it into place. It's that easy. And so that's what makes this such a great adhesive, because it's instant grab. This creates a wonderful bond between porous and non-porous materials. So, you know, bonding plastic to metal, you can't use Elmer's glue for that. It's not going to grab. So this makes a wonderful quick grabbing adhesive for those kind of things. Here, I'm going to clean up my silicone mat just by peeling that up and throwing it in the trash. Okay, so that's how we're going to turn that into a pin. If I wanted to turn it into a badge reel, like for a lanyard, this is one of these deals. See, this already has a flat back. So I can take, we'll use our blue one here. So flat back to flat back, you would just glue that down using the UV resin, glue that down, And then you have an amazing little badge reel here. If you wanted to turn it into a lanyard, a clip type lanyard, a clip type lanyard, same thing. I can just take the flat part of this lanyard and sort of glue it to the back of that. And then this is what your like ID card. So I just glue that to the back using more UV resin. If I wanted to turn this into a necklace, I need to have a way of connecting it to a chain. So I need a loop up there. And that's where this little item comes in handy. These are called screw eyes, and they are used to create a loop at the top of anything that you make. So for this, you would have to drill. So here we have a little hand drill. So I'd have to drill into the top of this. This hand drill is also sold in stores, and it's perfect. It's just this little thing. Here's what it looks like in stores. So this little part moves, that part goes into the palm of your hand. You grab it with your fingers, place it where you want to drill, and just start twisting. Great question from Paula. Can you use a bail? Absolutely. You can glue a bail to the top back of this and create a loop that way. There's a lot of ways to turn this into a necklace. You would just need a flat back bail, and you glue it right on. Let me show you this item. So as we're talking about all of these ways of turning this into something, this is a great item. This is our special resin findings kit. This is newer. I don't know if I've ever shown this in a class, but it has all of these specialty findings that are needed for resin. And it shows you on the back. Now you do get some jump rings, but they're thin jump rings. You get some of the screw eyes, you get some cap bails, some flat back earrings. So it has that flat pad, some pin blanks. Now these are the clutch pins, like an enamel pin, special clear bails. These, I'm gonna try to open this and show you. You can use a metal bail, of course. Let me just dump it out. So sorry, Rosa. Okay, so these clear bails, this is what you want to use when you're making resin. You want to use a clear bail. You could absolutely use a metal one, but the clear bail, actually, I'll just do it for you. The clear bail, I don't know, just kind of hides itself more, so it's not as prominent on the back. See how it just kind of like disappears into the piece? Make sure it is straight and then lock it down. Okay, we have 5 minutes left. You have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. Thank you to all of you that have stayed with me this far. So while that's going, let's talk about one final thing, and that is how to make the wet shaker. So here's our wet shaker, and that is made with baby oil. So the way you do that is you do have to drill into it. You can, we drilled into it up here, but we covered it with resin so you can't really see. But you want to drill into some part of it, on the top, on the side, drill all the way into your dry shaker. Let's see, let's do this one. Here's our dry. So the top is on, the stuff is inside. You would have to drill into the side and then use like a syringe to insert the baby oil that way. A note of caution, before you start putting anything liquid on here, you want to make absolutely sure that you have a watertight seal around here. So it's a good idea to go around the edges one more time with some more resin and cure it again. Because if there is a slight chance that that liquid will come out. So drill into the side, use a syringe to get the baby oil in, and that's how you turn this into a wet shaker. All right, so let me show you our clear bail. Oh, he's crooked. Let's pretend it's straight though. So that's how you would attach this to something else. You could make this into earrings. You could make this into a long necklace. And let me show you this. So that is on there permanently. And this you can put and wear as a brooch. All right, so we're wrapping it up here. We have 2 other Christmas classes planned before this year is out. So we have one in November, one in December. And so please join us for those classes. We love to see you guys here with us. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.